The cold drops hit his face. What if you could claim just 1 hour not for more work, not for more hustle in the way everyone shouts about, but for something quieter and far more powerful? What if you could own your dawn before the world could send its first invoice for your attention? That change doesn't start with a massive overhaul. It starts with a single, quiet decision made the night before. It starts with looking at the rain and, instead of just feeling wet and late, asking a better question. The question isn't, how do I survive this day? The question is, what if tomorrow morning for just 1 hour, I get to be the one who decides what I think about? And friend, that question is where everything begins. This was it. Monday, April 7th would be day one. He'd wake up, crush a 45-minute high-intensity workout from a fitness app, meditate for 20 minutes, journal his goals, asterisk, then asterisk, make a superfood smoothie. He went to bed on Sunday night feeling a strange mix of anxiety and excitement. This was what successful people did. He was going to join them. The alarm screamed at 5 a.m. It was a sound that cut through the dark like a knife. His body revolted. Every cell screamed to hit snooze. But he saw the vision. The future, fit, focused Alex. He forced himself up. The apartment was utterly silent and dark in a way that felt heavy. He fumbled for the light switch, the brightness making him wince. Alex tried to keep up, burpees, mountain climbers, jumping jacks. His heart hammered, not with energy but with a kind of panicked exhaustion. The triumphant music from the app felt like mockery. He still had to meditate. His only thought was, "This is terrible. I hate this. I want to go back to bed." His back ached from the hard floor. This is the part where most stories just yell at you. You weren't disciplined enough. Try harder. But that's a trap. See, Alex didn't fail because he was lazy. He failed because of a hidden mindset pattern, something so common it's practically the air we breathe. I call it productivity Stockholm syndrome. The ping of a notification. The endless scroll of a hustle culture post on LinkedIn. The glorification of being crazy busy. Being constantly busy, constantly reactive, starts to feel like proof that we're important, that we're valuable. Sitting in quiet with no output, no visible progress, that starts to feel scary, like we're wasting time, falling behind. The villain for Alex wasn't his alarm clock. It was a false belief he'd swallowed without even tasting it. His job title, his completed tasks, his responsive emails that was his report card as a human. He turned the one space that could have been free into another factory floor. And his spirit, understandably, went on strike. Let me tell you about my friend Mark, not his real name, but a real story. Each time he burned out in less than a week. He'd tell himself he didn't have the willpower, but the truth was, he was trying to escape one performance cage just to build another, fancier one in the dark. He was treating his dawn like just another item on a corporate quarterly roadmap. The visual for this trap isn't a jail cell with big iron bars. It's subtler and more powerful. It's a marionette. You can see the strings, but you feel like you're dancing on your own. One string is labeled urgent, another is algorithm, another is expectations. You move. You perform, you react, and you convince yourself it's your own music you're dancing to.
Alex felt this deeply. A few days after his failed attempt, he was in a 10 a.m. meeting in a glass-walled conference room overlooking Fort Point Channel. The sun was finally out, glittering on the water. Someone was presenting a PowerPoint slide, a confusing swirl of pie charts. Alex was nodding, but his mind was miles away. He was thinking about that 5 a.m. failure, the sour taste of self-disappointment. He felt a phantom buzz in his pocket. No phone had vibrated, but his nervous system was so trained for interruption, it was inventing them. The low hum of the air conditioning felt like the background noise of his entire life. This is the identity trap. You think you're failing at a habit. Really, you're bumping up against a false identity. You believe you are your output, so any time not spent producing feels like a threat to your very existence. But then, there's a turning point. Often it comes from a moment of pure exhaustion. For Alex, it was that Thursday. He got home at 8 p.m. after a day of back-to-back virtual calls. His head throbbed from screen fatigue. He ordered the same ginger takeout, ate it from the container on the couch, and just stared at the black screen of his television. He was so tired, but his mind was still racing, replaying snippets of conversations, worrying about tomorrow's deadlines. In that quiet, defeated moment, a different question floated up. Not, how can I produce more? But, what if the 5 a.m. hour wasn't for doing at all? What if it wasn't another slot on the productivity spreadsheet? What if it was simply for becoming? What if it was the one room in the house of your life where you got to just be? No performance reviews, no likes, no metrics, just you, the dark, and your own breath. A place where you couldn't be monetized, managed, or manipulated because you weren't producing anything to be tracked. The idea felt radical and strangely peaceful. It wasn't about adding more hustle. It was about planting a flag of stillness in the first hour of the day and declaring it a no-productivity zone, a sanctuary, not a gym. A 2025 Harvard Business Review analysis dug into this. They found that a staggering 73% of professionals now unconsciously define their self-worth by their responsiveness. How fast they reply to an email, how quickly they solve a problem. Not the quality of their results, but the speed of their reaction. Their value is a measure of their ping time. So think about that. If your value is tied to how quickly you react, who benefits from that? Who sells the apps that ping you? Who sells the devices that keep you tethered? Who benefits when you believe that your early morning should be another optimized session of self-improvement, another thing to track and measure and stress over? The system, the one that profits from your attention and your anxiety, doesn't want you to have an hour of sovereign, quiet thought. A mind that starts the day centered and clear is harder to sell to, harder to panic, harder to manipulate into impulsive clicks and reactive buys. So when you fail at those crazy packed 5 a.m. routines, It's not you. It's you trying to use the tools of the system to escape the system. It's like trying to dig your way out of a prison with a plastic spoon. But what if you had a different tool? Not a spoon, but a key. The key is releasing the need to achieve in that hour. The key is moving from performance to presence, even for just 5 minutes. That shift, that first glimpse of what if, is the crack in the wall of the trap. It lets a sliver of light in, and once you see that light, you can't unsee it. You start to wonder what else you've believed that isn't really true about yourself, about your time, about your worth. So the real question after failing isn't, how do I try harder next time? The real, quieter, more powerful question is this: what would I do with a single, silent hour if no one was watching, no one was grading, and it didn't have to count for anything at all? Ponder that for a second, because the answer to that question is the beginning of your true morning, and that is something worth waking up for. The idea was simple, almost stupidly simple. After the crash and burn of his packed 5 a.m. performance, and that quiet revelation in his takeout-filled living room, Alex decided to try something that felt like cheating. He called it the zero expectation win. The rules were embarrassingly easy. Rule 1. When the alarm goes off at 5 a.m., your only job is to sit on the edge of the bed. That's it. Rule 2. You will drink 1 glass of water that you placed on your nightstand the night before. Rule 3. You will sit there in the dark and you will breathe. You will not check your phone. You will not think about your goals. You will not try to be productive. You will just exist for 60 seconds. If you do that, you have won the day. You can go back to sleep if you want. He set it up on a Sunday night, April 13th. He filled a tall glass with water and put it right next to his charging phone. The glass looked out of place, a small sentinel of intention. He set his alarm for 5 a.m. with the label, "Just sit." He felt a flicker of doubt. This is too small. This won't change anything. But he was also so tired of failing at the big, impressive things. Maybe small was the only door left. The dark at 4:59 a.m. is a different kind of dark. It's not the cozy dark of midnight. It's a deep, silent, almost physical dark. The world isn't just asleep. It feels empty. Alex's alarm wasn't a blaring siren this time. He'd set it to a soft, gradual chime, like distant bells. It began to sound, a gentle intrusion. His eyes opened. The familiar internal battle began instantly. But the script was different. For the first time in years, the first minutes of his day were not an emergency response. They were just minutes. He looked at the clock. 5:04 a.m. He had won his zero expectation win. And here is the most crucial thing, the part where 95% of people quit, the part where they sabotage their own victory. Because the old voice came rushing back. See, that was nothing. You didn't work out. You didn't meditate. You didn't advance your goals. You just sat there. You're wasting the magic hour. Go back to bed. You're not cut out for this. That voice is a liar. It's the echo of the productivity Stockholm syndrome, and it will try to convince you that the small quiet win is a failure because it doesn't look impressive. It doesn't make for a good Instagram post. It's not a hustle. But Alex, just for this once, didn't listen. He remembered the rule. He could go back to bed if he wanted, and part of him really wanted to. But another part, the part that had felt that tiny spark of quiet curiosity, wanted to see what happened next. Not to achieve, just to see. He stood up. His joints gave a little pop. He walked to the window and looked out at the sleeping city. The streetlights cast long, lonely shadows on the empty street below. A single car rolled by, its headlights cutting two beams through the mist. He could hear the low, rhythmic hum of the refrigerator from the kitchen. He took another sip of water. He didn't do anything else. He just stood there for a few more minutes, watching that one lit window. Then he got back into bed. He didn't feel guilty. He felt like he'd discovered a secret room in his own life. He fell back asleep almost instantly, the deep, peaceful sleep of someone who isn't already running from something. When his real alarm went off at 7 a.m., something was different. He didn't slam the snooze button. He turned it off and sat up. The usual tsunami of anxious thoughts tried to rush in, but it felt slower, muffled, like there was a small buffer between him and the chaos now. He had already proven, in a tiny way, that he was in charge of the first moments of his day. That buffer was his proof. He went through his normal routine: shower, coffee, frantic search for keys. But the flavor of it was different. The edge of panic was duller. When he saw the 14 new emails, he took a breath, the same breath he'd practiced in the dark. He didn't dive in head first. He poured his coffee first, a small act of prioritizing himself. This is the neuroscience of the microscopic victory. Researchers have found that a single, small, voluntary action, like choosing to sit up when every fiber says to sleep, creates what they call a privileged window in your brain. For the next 90 minutes or so, your prefrontal cortex, that's the part responsible for decision-making and self-control, is stronger. You flexed your "I'm in charge" muscle with that one tiny act, and it stays warmed up. You've given yourself a head start on willpower before the world even asks for it. Alex felt it. In his 10 a.m. presentation, when a tough question came, he didn't fluster. He paused, took a sip of water, which made him think of his 5 a.m. glass, and gave a calm answer. That pause was the legacy of his 60 seconds of quiet. It was the buffer in action. He ended his day tired, but not shattered. He placed the glass of water on his nightstand again. This time, it didn't look out of place. It looked like a promise. So if you try this and you succeed in just sitting up and drinking that water, and your brain immediately tells you it was stupid and insignificant, I need you to hear this. You just did something profound. You broke the script. You started your day with an act of non-doing, of pure being. And that is the most radical, powerful thing you can do in a world screaming at you to do more. You are not in the 95% who try the massive overhaul and quit in a week. You are in the 5% who understand that true change is built not on grand, sweeping gestures, but on a single, quiet, repeated choice. You won the first battle, the battle for the first 60 seconds. But one morning does not change a life. The system is smart. It will see your small win and try to weaponize it against you. It will tell you that now you have to level up. You have to add more. You have to monetize your morning. Turn your sanctuary into a side hustle. Tomorrow, the voice that tells you to go back to sleep will be louder. It will have better arguments. It will remind you of every past failure. Your only job tomorrow is to win the same tiny, quiet victory all over again. Just sit up. Just drink the water. Just breathe. Because you're not building a routine. You're building a fortress. And you just laid the very first, most important stone. By day 8, the magic had worn off. The novelty of the zero expectation win was gone, replaced by a cold, hard truth. This was a daily war. Alex's alarm chimed its soft bells into the darkness, and every part of him, from his tired bones to his sleepy mind, formed a unified, powerful argument. You proved your point. You don't need to do this every day. It's raining again. You were up late. Just hit snooze. One day. Won't matter. His hand hovered over the phone. This was the real test. Not the first day, with its flash of inspiration, but the 8th day, when it was just a boring, quiet obligation. He thought about the warm cave of his blankets. It was so tempting. But then he remembered a rule he'd set for himself, something he called the same-day reset. The rule was simple: never miss 2 days in a row. You could have an off day, you could have a lazy morning, but you could not let the off days link up. That was how habits died. With a groan that echoed in the quiet room, he sat up. His victory felt hollow, more like surrender than triumph. He drank his water without tasting it. He stood at the window. The single-lit window across the way was dark today. For a moment he felt oddly alone, like a sentry posted for no reason. This was the grind. This was where you built something real, not on feeling, but on a dumb, stubborn decision. He didn't know it, but down on the street, in a brownstone in the South End, a woman named Sarah was doing the same thing. And in a high-rise in the financial district, a guy named David was pouring his glass of water. They were all fighting the same quiet war, alone in their own pockets of dark. This is the part where you need a protocol, not a rigid military drill, but a gentle sequence, a series of actions so simple that even a half-asleep brain can follow them. Alex, through trial and error, had stumbled into his. He called it the Boston Hustle Protocol. But the hustle wasn't about going faster. It was about moving with intention before the city could start pushing you around. It always started with the 5-minute anchor, 5:05 a.m. Just like day one, sit up, drink the entire glass of water. He'd learned the hydration shock was crucial. Then stand by the window, no phone. His only job was to watch the night sky lighten from black to deep indigo. He'd notice the specific sounds, the distant echoing clang of a garbage truck, lit on Tremont Street, a sound so regular he could set his watch by it. The soft coo of pigeons nesting under his eaves. This wasn't meditation. It was just anchoring himself in the real, physical world before the digital one woke up. Then came the 20-minute burn, 5:05, 5:25 m. This was the most misunderstood part. It wasn't exercise. It was physical reclamation. The goal wasn't to get ripped or burn 300 calories. The goal was to feel the blood move in your body, to remind your limbs they belonged to you. Some days, Alex put on his sneakers and just walked. No podcast, no music, just the sound of his own footsteps on the damp sidewalk, the smell of wet asphalt and blooming lilacs from someone's tiny yard. Other days, it was 5 minutes of stretching on the living room floor, feeling the tightness in his hamstrings from too much sitting. The key was listening to his body, not a trainer on a screen. It was about ownership, not optimization.
He tracked it all on a simple wall calendar in his kitchen, not with check marks, but with tiny notes. Feel free to send one back if you're awake. He called it a digital fire team. The next morning after his anchor, he sent the emoji. A minute later, his phone lit up. Not with a work email, but with a single, back from his friend Maya, then another from his friend Ben. No words. Just that tiny, universal signal. Asterisk, I'm here too, in the dark, doing the thing. Asterisk, the feeling was incredible. If you start anxious and reactive, you'll be more likely to post angrily, reply snippily, and fall into online arguments. If you start centered and calm, that calm propagates through your digital life. You weren't just changing your morning. You were changing your footprint in the world. By day 30, the transformation wasn't in the mirror. He was winning the daily war. Not with sheer force, but with a gentle, repeated protocol and the warmth of a small, silent community. He had built a fortress of mind, one simple 5-minute block at a time. But systems that profit from distraction don't just give up. When they see you've built a fortress, they don't stop attacking. They change tactics. They don't try to break the walls down. They try to make you a landlord inside them. They try to get you to monetize your peace, optimize your sanctuary, and turn your victory into another metric. The greatest challenge wasn't starting the habit. It was protecting what the habit had built. It was a Tuesday in mid-June, around 8:45 a.m., when Alex realized the change wasn't about mornings anymore.